What is going on, my fellow Detroit Lions fans? Welcome back. Today is another day closer to the NFL season. But for me personally, I feel like the NFL season starts here in about 4 days when the rookies report to training camp. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to do like a little mini segment over the next couple of days where I'm talking about training camp stuff, what to watch for. Today, I'm only talking rookies. I'm not talking undrafted free agents or undrafted rookies. I'm purely talking about draft picks. The 6 guys that we drafted back in April. I will be doing a little segment on some offensive players, some defensive players, some stuff to watch for. There's so much to watch for this training camp season that there's a lot to talk about. I want to kind of break it down piece by piece. So today, strictly focusing on just the rookies that we were drafted. So just for example, I'm not going to be talking about like Matthew Betts or anyone like that. I'm purely talking the rookies today. So I'm going to start from the bottom, work my way to the top. Round 6, pick 210, Christian Mahogany. What do I expect out of him this season? I expect him to just be a depth piece. If we have to see him, I want to see him in training camp. I want to see him. I think he's going to be fighting with Colby Swordsdahl, Coyote Awasikwa, to see who's going to play that backup guard role if someone has to go down or if we have to shuffle guys around. If Frank Ragnow has to miss a game or two and we have to slide Graham Glasgow back over to center where he's more than capable and comfortable at, who's going to take Graham's role? Who's going to take that guard spot? Or if Zeitler has to miss a game, like who's going to be taking that spot? I think Christian Mahogany is going to have his name in the mix. I will say he's probably a little bit behind. I will say that the veterans are probably a little bit more experienced. I think that's going to come into play. Coyote Awasikwa, that's a tough name to say. I just hit it most of the time. I'm like 98% on that name. He played well when he came in. He wasn't a liability. He wasn't the greatest thing to ever put on football pads, but he held his own when we had to see him. I know Frank missed some time, and we had to bring in him into that guard position, like I said. And Coyote, I think he played okay. I don't think he tore the world up, but he's capable, and he's got the experience. So the young rookie, Christian Mahogany, look, in our mock drafts, I can speak for myself, and I believe Will might have had him in his mock draft too. We had him going to the Detroit Lions in like round 3. So this is a guy with high-end talent, and Brad Holmes has come out and said that there was something on draft day that is probably why he slipped, but it wasn't anything to be concerned with, and I don't expect that story to ever come out because that's the type of organization that the Lions are now. They're not going to put a guy's personal business out there, so whatever it was must have been minor. I think that was the cause for his slip. So when training camp starts, I think Christian Mahogany is just going to be out there battling. He's going to be a part of that quote-unquote bloodbath that Brad Holmes was talking about this whole offseason. And I don't know where it's going to shake up, but I'm excited to watch it. Next on the list, like I said, starting from the bottom, going toward the first round, one of my favorite players of this draft. And I know Will kind of put me on the spot the other day and said, not all the rookies can be your favorite. Well, Will, I have to respectfully disagree because like I said, my Detroit Lions rookies are like ice cream. Whatever flavor I want that day is the flavor I'm going to enjoy. Mekhi Wingo is one of my favorite picks. I think he's a versatile piece with great athleticism. I did an episode on him. I think it was last week. I'll tag that one at the end of it, end of this video. His athleticism scores and everything that he did in the combine was top 5, top 7, somewhere in that range. So for us to get Mekhi Wingo at pick 6 or round 6, pick 189, I feel like that was one of the steals of the draft. Again, I'm looking for position battles. Who's he going to be battling with? He's going to be fighting it out with Levi Onwuzurike, Broderick Martin. I've said that I think he overtakes Levi. Listen, I'm not trying to knock Levi Onwuzurike, but he has to be available. He missed all of 2022 with the back surgery and missed almost half of the season last year. So if you're not available, I got to have someone who I can slide in there and depend on. And I think that could be a guy like Mekhi Wingo, who drafted out of LSU, great athleticism, 6 foot, 284 pounds. I love his stature. I love his frame. He's quick. He's explosive, but I don't think he's day one starter. I do think he could be that rotational piece, that second wave of defensive tackles. And if you've watched football long enough, you know one thing. You want to keep your defensive line fresh. Bring them in. give them like a series or two, rotate them into the next guys. You want to have about, in my opinion, I would say 5 to 7 guys you want to be able to rotate it on that defensive line. And we have exactly that. If you want to add in Josh Pascal, John Kaminsky, those types of guys, Mekhi Wingo, I think, is going to be on that second wave of defensive linemen. I kind of got absolutely hammered because apparently you can't mention Mekhi Wingo and Aaron Donald in the same breath. And a lot of people misconstrued what I was trying to say. I was just saying that a lot of stuff about their combine was very, very similar. Like all of their times were within like hundredths of a second of each other. Their height and weight are like 1 inch and 1 pound difference. And I'm not saying Mekhi Wingo is going to be Aaron Donald, but if he's anything close, I think we're going to have one of the best defenses in the NFL for quite a long time. Can you imagine a player like Aaron Donald and Aiden Hutchinson on the same team? And then with our revamped secondary, and then we can just spend the next 5-6 years drafting offensive weapons, secondary players. Like that would just be a scary thought. I know that's many, many years down the road, but if Mekhi Wingo turns out to just even be a solid role player in his rookie year, I would be absolutely ecstatic. I don't expect him to be like rookie of the year or an all pro or anything like that, or Pro Bowl pick at the very, very least I would be very happy with, but I don't see that in his rookie year. Down the road, let's see what happens. Again, you cannot talk about a defensive lineman and not mention the name Terrell Williams, in my opinion. Defensive line coach that we got from the Tennessee Titans, one of the best in the business. That's what Dan Campbell said. So I'm excited for Terrell Williams to get his hands on Mekhi Wingo, a whole training camp. Let's just see what can happen. Now, like I said, moving on. Round 4, pick 132. Another one of my favorite rookies, Sione Vaki. I think he's the most interesting rookie because we don't know exactly what role he's going to play. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can do a lot of different things. But where are they going to list him on the depth chart when it comes game day? I don't know. You could list him as pretty much whatever. It's not going to make a difference. He's going to play whatever position they need him to. Now, I will say starting the season, I think he's going to be a special teamer. But he is a piece that you can shuffle around if there's an injury. If one of our running backs gets tweaked something and has to miss a game or two, Sione Vaki will slide in, become running back 2, maybe 3 in a scenario, depending on what the injury is. But I've said that I feel like he's going to fight it out with Craig Reynolds. But ultimately, I do feel like he's going to be a special teamer to start the season. But you could put him in at safety. You could put him in at, I don't want to get into this scenario, but if we needed a wide receiver, Sione Vaki is a name you could just throw out. It's really just, he's a contingency plan for a lot of different positions is what I'm trying to say. I don't think he's going to be a running back. I think he's just going to be a special teamer. But if a running back goes down, now you can start mentioning a Sione Vaki. Oh, if something happens with Kirby Joseph, now you can start mentioning Sione Vaki that maybe he's going to have to play a little safety or some wide receiver. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can do a lot of different things. But ultimately, I think he will start the team, the season on special teams. I want to just throw out a couple scenarios with Sione Vaki where I can see him in like a punt formation, kind of like a Jalen Reeves-Maybin. We could have 2 guys that are lined up, and special teams players on the opposing sidelines, we're going to have to account for him and say, hey, I see Sione Vaki, that dude, he can handle the ball. He's a running back, wide receiver. Like, we got to keep an eye on it. Dan Campbell's got some tricks up his sleeve. He could be pulling up something for Sione Vaki on a fake punt, an end around, a fake punt pass. I don't know. The options are endless. And I think he just makes the Detroit Lions a little bit more unexpected. And we all know Dan Campbell likes to make some moves. And I can also see him being used as like a fullback type scenario. And I know Malcolm Rodriguez has played that position very well. But I think Sione Vaki is just more comfortable with a ball in his hands. So if that's something that Ben Johnson wants to use as a wrinkle, fullback, maybe we really truly have 2 running backs in the backfield. There's a lot of different things you can do with Sione Vaki, but ultimately special teamer. He's a contingency plan for injuries. Good piece to have. I think every team needs a player like that, and I don't think a lot of teams do. So we're very fortunate, and I think that Sione Vaki will make some impact plays throughout the season, even if it's just on special teams. Next, moving on, round 4, pick 126. The biggest human being I think drafted this past season, Giovanni Manu. Listen, I don't want to see Giovanni Manu in 2024, and I mean that in a good way because I feel like when Brad Holmes slaps that label of project on a player, it's minimum 1 year. Minimum. Now, we talked about it with Broderick Martin, who was a rookie last year, project. Didn't play a whole lot, only played a couple of games, kind of just getting his feet wet. Giovanni Manu, I don't think we see in pads at all this season. And I think that's probably for the best. Like, this dude is a mountain of a man, but just because you're 6'8", 350 pounds and absolutely chiseled doesn't mean that you can play football at a high level. I'm not saying that he won't get there, but I don't think he's there yet. I think in a year or two, let Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach, get his hands on him, let him get him tuned up technically, and he's going to be absolutely scary to deal with for the next however many years, because that is a monster of a man. We talked about him. Me and Will did a joint show. It was probably about a month ago, and we compared him to, if you're familiar, if you're a wrestling fan, Braun Strowman, like one of the largest humans I've ever seen up close, like shook his hand. And I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm 6 foot, and Braun Strowman was absolutely looking down at me. That's kind of how I feel like it would be with Giovanni Manu. Like, this dude's just an absolute beast. But I'm not saying like he's not NFL ready, but I don't want to see him this year. Let's get him a year to get used to being an NFL pro. Coming over from that, I know it's not the Canadian League. I forget what it's called, or it's Canadian College. So it's a step up, a huge step up in competition. And I'm not saying they don't have some athletes in Canada, but this isn't hockey. This is the NFL. Like, this is where big boys are smashing into each other. And Giovanni Manu is a big boy, but technically he just got to work on some stuff. And I said when we drafted him that I can see him being our left tackle of the future, maybe in a year or two. But Brad Holmes has kind of come out and said that he likes him as a guard. So again, don't want to see him this year, but I will be interested to see what he does in training camp and how he looks, and who he's fighting with. He's going to be fighting with the same guys as Christian Mahogany. So it's just something to keep an eye on. 2024, don't want to see you. Next year, we'll probably be talking Giovanni Manu quite a bit, depending on what the offensive line is shaping up to be. Moving on, got 2 more guys to talk about. Round 2, pick 61, Ennis Rakestraw. Look, this is a kid who had a first-round grade for most of the build-up to the draft. A lot of people had him mocked to the Lions at 29. We get him at 61, almost more than a whole round later. So we got first-round talent in the second round. I really like this kid, but he's kind of going against some guys with a lot of experience. And if you haven't caught Will's show from last night, I'll tag that. I can't tag 2 videos, so I don't know which one I'll tag. It'll probably be a game time decision for that. But Will did an episode last night talking about Amik Robertson. So I don't want to spill too much of the beans about Ennis Rakestraw, but I think Amik Robertson does have the huge advantage of having experience, and he's quite athletic. If you haven't watched Will's episode, I don't want to steal all of his thunder. I'll let you guys go watch that one. It was a good one. So I don't want to dive too much into Ennis Rakestraw or Terrion Arnold, but I do think first-round talent, second round, kind of a steal. So what's going to be the battle? He's going to be fighting for that. I think he's going to be fighting for that nickelback's position. I think Brian Branch is moving on in a fantastic way. He's going to be safety full-time. I think that's where he's going to thrive. We saw it in the NFC Championship game. San Francisco was running out personnel where we didn't need a nickelback, taking Brian Branch off of the field. Problem solved. Let's just move him to safety. One of our best defensive players. I think Brian Branch is the second most important player on this defense, probably behind Aiden Hutchinson, and it's really close with me with Alex Anzalone. Those are probably the 3 most important defensive players, in my opinion. So with Brian Branch moving to safety, it kind of opens up that nickelback position. I think it's going to be a battle with Ennis Rakestraw and Amik Robertson. I don't know who's going to win, but I'll tell you right now, I'm here to watch it, and I'm here to see what happens. So I'll let you guys check out Will's episode. He did a fantastic breakdown with some video clips and all that stuff. So check that one out after you guys watch this video. And let's move on to Terrion Arnold, round 1, pick 24. Again, I'll just say that Will kind of hinted that he thinks Amik Robertson's going to be that cornerback too. And he's got a battle. Amik Robertson is very versatile. He's like a secondary version of Sione Vaki. Like, he could probably play nickel. He could probably play outside corner. He could probably be your number 1 corner if you needed him to. He might even be able to play a little safety or quarterback if you needed him. This guy's a Swiss Army knife. We're talking Amik Robertson. I'm trying to keep this focused on the rookies, but the 2 rookies we got are going to be battling with Amik Robertson. So I don't know how this whole secondary is going to shuffle out. I know we're going to have Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph is our safeties, and Carlton Davis is one corner. Whoever's fighting for that nickelback and cornerback 2 position, it's going to be a battle between Rakestraw Arnold and Amik Robertson, with a couple other guys that are probably going to try to throw their name in the mix too. Gilmore. I don't know if Gilmore's making starting lineup, but he's a piece that'll be on the roster, I feel. But Terrion Arnold in rookie OTAs, he was getting a lot of reps at cornerback too. That's nice, but a lot of the seasoned vets weren't there. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see when training camp starts on a week from today. Today is Tuesday, July 16th. Training camp and the vets report on the 23rd. So we are exactly 1 week a day from today, but the rookies report on the 20th. So we're about 4 days away. That's why I wanted to just focus on the rookies today. I'll let you guys leave some comments. Let me know who you're looking for at rookie-wise the most. And again, I'm going to be working on some stuff for some offensive, defensive players, and maybe a couple little X factors in there as well. So leave some comments down below. Hit that like button, guys. Stick around. I'll be back later with another show.